Apparently, we should be live.
Yeah,
Hello,
we are.
the talking tennis community. Mario, how are you doing today?
I'm quite okay, to be honest, because I can manage the Indian Wells time zone when I'm working with that, and also other things tennis which are happening right now. So it's a nice period. I can't complain. What about you?
I actually had a terrible migraine just before this, but apparently talking tennis cures that sort of stuff. Uh, I thought that without a pill I'm not gonna do it, but actually, yeah, turns out I just have to talk some tennis. John Selk is still nowhere to be found. He is probably in some Arabic country today. Last time I had a show here, he was in Lebanon playing chess. Right now, he could be in wherever Azerbaijan playing mahjong. But anyway, we're gonna talk about Indian Wells. We're gonna talk about some, of course, what's been happening on the men's side, what's been happening on the women's side. Maybe Mario, if you're saying that Indian Wells is a very good time zone for you and etc. Which of these two tournaments, of course, I'm talking about the singles ones, has interested you more so far? Which has you more excited for what's to come as well?
Hmm. Well, I have to say that we saw, I can't say a lot of surprises, to be honest, at least in terms of the players which have make it to the last stages of the event. Um, Even thinking about the matches, tonight's matches, for example, the men's side, we can't be so surprised about who the player who are featuring. Uh, but uh, I don't know. I'm interested in both tournaments. In some matches, for example, I'm not watching right now, but I was a bit interested to watch how Rybakina and Mukova could have played each other in on this court, because I think that Rybakina played very well also last year, even if her level probably was not as high as it is in this 2023. Of course, for Mukova, it's a bit strange, but it's her first time playing in Young Wells. Uh, Even because, of course, she's been also a bit unlucky with her physical issues, so uh, it wasn't so weird for me knowing all what she came through with her injuries, but she beat some very very dangerous players, um, doing it even in nice style. um, I think that she closed the first set right now. I don't know if you can correct me. um, she
Mohava?
was on no,
I
they
mean,
are due.
she has a set point right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's of course playing very well, and I have to say that the female event, we can start with the girls. Of course, the tournament has been, I think that has been entertaining so far, because we have seen some very nice battles. Um, some good matches, I think so. um Probably in terms of how the matches went and played out, probably the female event has also been probably a bit more entertaining than the men's one, but of course it's just also a matter of taste and the way I watched and enjoy the matches. Probably others can disagree with me, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Karolina Muchova has been a player we've been talking about a lot in all these, basically whenever an opportunity comes up, as someone who, if she actually was healthy for a longer while, should be up there. She for a while, of course, had that reputation of being like a big event player, right? She was making so many big runs in Grand Slam events at the beginning of her career, sort of. but of course, recently she's been mostly injured. That's why she still has not played Indian Wells, even though she's actually been into the top 20 even. But yeah, it's apparently her first time at the desert event, and of course it's going extremely well for her. Actually, Rybakina has a break back now, but yeah, I think Muchova is probably like the favorite in these conditions against the Kazakh. Yeah, so Mario, tell me, is there anyone is there any chance that Iga Swiatek isn't claiming this event?
I have to say that the slow conditions for me are perfect also for Sabalenka.
Okay.
Because a player with her powerful shots from the baseline can easily, in my opinion, find a way during the rally, also serving so well like she's doing. Um, I of course still see Swiatek as the main favorite of this event, um, because I saw her also in playing some, I have to say, convincing matches, because she hasn't started well, for example, against Raducanu, because of a bit of a windy conditions, but then after she found the distance from the ball and all these little things that she was mistaking at the beginning, it's been a contest. um, I actually missed the match against Andreescu, so probably I can be a bit um, not so well. I don't know. Probably that match gave more indications than the two I watched.
Mhm.
But I still think that she proved to be of the most dangerous player here. Um, Now there are only 6 players left in the draw. I think she's the favorite, but um, right now the players are all very good players, especially. I don't know if player the serve is not paying so much in this event. Um, at least making an average speech about all the players involved. Um, Probably the only one who's doing so well to try to make her feel a bit uncomfortable is Sabalenka, even if I don't know if this on this court. I mean, it's easier to play like this against some other players. I don't know if Sabalenka will play in this way also against Iga Swiatek, but mm, I feel like she has the confidence to at least to make an even match. But I see Swiatek as the favorite.
Yeah, I'd also see Świątek as the favorite in the final, but certainly Sabalenka has something to say in that one. I'm not sure if I agree with Ghosty there. I mean, not about my possible use of a comb. That's actually very true. I've never owned one. I never used one, and I kind of take some, have some pride in that, which is very weird. I do not know why I do that. But anyway, I don't know if I think that if Rybakina loses, Iga takes the Indian Wells title. It's a guarantee. That's kind of surprising to me, frankly. I mean, I'm not sure that Rybakina can trouble her in these conditions. I also felt the same as if Świątek played Garcia today instead of Serena Kirstia, which
Mm.
should theoretically make Świątek's job easier, of course. Uh, Ghosty is also saying that Świątek is 2-1. That Sabalenka is 2-1 in the head-to-head against Świątek. I don't think that's true, right? I mean, last year Świątek beat
No,
her
she
4 times
lost
in a row.
twice last year. No, 3 times Swiatek beat Sabalenka last year.
4 times even.
4 times.
Doha,
Okay.
Stuttgart, Rome, and the US Open, and
Yeah,
she
you're
beat
right.
her
And then
twice at
Sabalenka
the
won.
WTA finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a 4-2 head-to-head for Świątek, which of course is slightly less lopsided than her head-to-heads against most other WTA contenders at the time. But I don't know at present, let's say. But we know that Aryna can do it, right? Of course, she can trouble her. Okay, that one head to head was a typo. Yeah, we know that Sabalenka can do it. Perhaps the conditions aren't, perfect for her because but not actually because she doesn't like them. It's more because they're slower. They suit Swiatek more naturally. But yeah, I don't think it would be a clear favorite if they went into the finals. I'm not sure I see Rybakina taking out Swiatek simply. That's why I was sort of surprised by that comment. But I guess given the
Yeah,
fact that she didn't
probably
remember that
on this court,
Sabalenka was in the
Mukova
draw.
can be more dangerous. I'm thinking about the way Mukova can mix a bit things, but I don't think Swiatek suffers a lot against these kind of players, at least usually. Then, of course, she can of course have maybe a bad day and the opponent uh, play perfectly, but um, yeah, it's difficult to imagine right now. But probably I think that at least in terms of how their game are, if their game are is penalized by the conditions, I think that probably Mukova should be penalized less than Rybakina.
Something that we talked about with Nick a couple of days ago, and I guess I will like to, I'd like to ask you that question, is because we said that in like all the losses that Swiatek has had so far this year, there are a lot of like circumstances that actually make us think, okay, that's why she lost. The United Cup against Pegula. The fact that the Polish team had to fly over from Brisbane to Sydney, the court was much faster in Sydney. Against Krejcikova, it was of course the cold, and against Rybakina, it was again the courts being super fast and favoring flat hitters. Do you think that's more like are these actual reasons, or are we just Swiatek is at this point like we did the same, I guess, with the big three and Serena. When they lose, we start looking at some possible explanations, because how is it possible? I mean, she lost. Now it's impossible. She was just beaten. There must be something else. What would you say to that?
Yeah, probably also because there have been three, uh, I have to say, not even very close matches.
Yeah.
All of three. The closer in terms of score was the Rybakina loss in the Australian Open, but having watched it, it wasn't that close, to be
Yeah.
honest. And so
Neither was
probably
close. Yeah. I agree.
that's also one of the reasons why we try to ask, mm, try to find these, um, these probably issues and all these reasonably things that um, could let Swiatek to lose the match. Probably in case of a closer battle, like for example the final. For example, she lost in Ostrava last year. Probably given that it's been a very close battle and with chances for her. Probably we haven't taken that loss in this way like we took these losses. Also probably the fact that she has a lot of points to defend this season. Last year we wasn't thinking about that because we were a bit in her hurry, um, riding the way we there during that spectacular 2022. And so probably this year we have our expectations. I don't know if reasonably, but we have our expectation higher and higher about her. I'm saying I don't know if reasonably because it's difficult to imagine a better 2023 than it was the 2022, because it's been practically perfect, even if there have been some losses here and there, but it's I think it's normal. Yeah, uh, I think that it's a bit like you say, like you said, we are we are beginning thinking about her like we did when it was Serena, when it was or it's about the big three. Because yeah, of course, when you have a player that has been so dominant in a recent period, because mm, I mean, probably yeah, no, this year so far it hasn't been a domination, because she hasn't still won one of the two big events that have been played. But given also the way she cruises in early rounds, you start thinking no one can beat her. Even in Dubai, it was, I if I remember well, it was the, even if she played one last match because Pliskova withdrew, but it was the fewest games dropped in the WTA 1000 since 2009 to reach a final. And so we were thinking about, given what she was the week after, in the week later in Doha, we were like, okay, it's unbeatable in these conditions and all these things. And then suddenly Krejcikova played a great match and beat her in the final. Uh, yeah, mm, I agree with what you say. I don't know if I gave a clear answer, because it's difficult to. I was thinking while talking, because I it was a topic, to be honest, I would never thought about.
Okay.
But thinking while I'm talking, I'm starting to say that I agree with you with the
Okay.
question, with the way you told me the question.
No, I mean it's fair. It's this is not scripted. We do everything like this here. Of course, someone says something and then someone reacts on the spot. We don't have any time to think this through beforehand, which is a good point, I guess, in terms of the fact that a lot of the people watching. Actually, right now, probably not, but a lot of the people watching usually still aren't subscribed. So you should do that, by the way. John would love it. I don't know if he's gonna listen. Maybe he's in some cafe in Armenia this time, and maybe he can't listen. But of course, I had to plug in some sort of a subscriber, appreciation. Let's say whatever. Anyway, I wanted to say that even though I don't believe that Rybakina would beat Swiatek in the semis on these courts, I still think it would be an absolutely huge match. Of course, we had. A couple of days ago, I actually tweeted that there's been like three standout players on the WTA tour this year, like the ones that stood out the most, of course. Not that there's been only three standout players, and that they are Swiatek and the winners of the two biggest titles, which you mentioned, so Krejcikova and Sabalenka. And while writing that tweet, I was kind of, thinking I should be including Rybakina in this. It didn't really fit the narrative, so I didn't. But if there was someone that you would name right after these three, it would probably be Rybakina. So anyway, if this semifinal really happens, I think it's going to be a huge story. Right now, Rybakina is tied into the opening set with Muchova. Still, opening set tiebreak.
Yeah.
So we still very much don't know what will happen. Of course, if there's going to be an upset today in the quarterfinals, we would probably think it's in the Rybakina quarter rather than Świątek's. But as you said, bad days can happen to anyone, even Iga Swiatek. Sometimes it might seem impossible. Is there any way then, Mario, that Maria Sakkari is going to trouble Aryna Sabalenka? She's won four matches, but all of them have been basically comebacks from like a set down and a set at a breakdown, or a breakdown in or a breakdown in some set. Pretty much constantly fighting through. Can she actually pull off a semi-final win, which would be a rare thing for her, right? 7-19 in WTA Tour semifinals right now.
We have a question from John, who's asking us if Taylor Yannick Sinner is the most difficult of all the matches, men and women, to predict. There are other quite difficult matches to predict. I mean, even the one
Oh, he's still in Lebanon. Okay. No, never mind.
Even
Never
the
mind.
one we are seeing right now, I think that it was really difficult to predict before the start, even given also the way Mukova played. I thought that Mukova could have had her chances, and she is having her chances. Also, she had the biggest chance so far because she served for the set and had set points against Rybakina. So probably that one is also difficult to predict. I can agree that Taylor Fritz Yannick Sinner should be not. I don't love to say should be close. I mean closing the prediction. I don't know if you all of you got the difference, because the match can also be not so close, but probably as well as Mukova Rybakina, probably this one is probably the most difficult quarterfinal match to predict among the four which are tonight. I see. Yeah, probably. I still think that in these conditions, Taylor Fritz has something more, just a little bit. But Sinner is playing very well. I have to say, since the Australian Open and also in this tournament, he played three solid matches. Um, so, mm, yeah, I probably I'm still going with Fritz, but I think that Yannick, of course, has his chances to take the match.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see that Sinner is that Sinner is a bit of a favorite for the bookies, but I see that the starting price was actually the other way around, and that's how I would have it. Like for me, Fritz is still like not a huge favorite in this one for sure, but the edge is still there for me for sure in terms of Fritz being the favorite over Sinner. I just think he's the better player. Frankly, I still don't see Sinner as the a big title winner. Of course, soon enough it might turn out that I'm talking crap. Maybe he's actually gonna evolve into one. Then I can say that I didn't see that big title winner in Sinner. I'm rhyming there. When he was still in his like early phase, the pre-evolution Pokemon. But the post-evolution Pokemon will be. I mean, we'll see. Ghosty is asking, do you give Fritzy an advantage because of the American crowds? It is a bit of an advantage, right? Like, it is 100%. Now, whether that's a huge advantage or not, Fritz is the kind of guy who can play better when with his home crowd. We saw that in Indian Wells, for example, last year. He definitely enjoys this setting, right? Of course, he's also had some embarrassing losses, like to Braden Holt, but that was to another American. So, no, in general, I think it helps him, and it should be helpful for sure in this one. I don't value it greatly, but it does increase, my percentage chance of Fritz beating Sinner by. This is just coming up with random numbers, but let's say it increases it by like 2-3% or something like that. I think
Yeah,
that's
at
fair.
least because I'm sure that it shouldn't affect the way Yannick Sinner will play. I don't think it's because of the crowd. Probably
A bit about
can help Fritz a little bit in terms of his tennis. Mm, I I don't know. To be honest, I know Fritz has already won the Indian Wells title, but I'm also a little bit, like you said, for Sinner. I'm a little bit like this for Fritz, to be honest.
Mhm.
In terms that I don't know if he will win a lot of a lot. I don't know if he will win three or four more big titles. Probably he can win Indian Wells, but mm, I don't know. I also see Sinner troubling more Alcaraz than Fritz in an eventual semi. While I think it's the opposite against Roger Aliassime because of a matchup term. Even if this is low court, I don't think that it's good at all for Felix, to be honest. Yeah, same. I agree with Gossi. I think that this time Alcaraz is favored to break his curse against Roger Aliassime and win the first of his 4 matches. Also because I haven't liked a lot what I saw from Felix so far.
Yeah, this honestly seems like crystal clear to me. That Carlos is probably going to win this match. Like he struggled with Felix's game, of course, in indoor conditions, and in against a much better Felix. You know, this here, a slow, pretty high bouncing court. That's terrible for Felix. You know, that backhand is not going to be that useful against Carlos. And yeah, I think he just exposed these flaws that Felix has, and basically I'm thinking that the head-to-head don't really matter in this one. Of course, they've played one outdoor match as well, but that was a retirement at the 2021 US Open, and Carlos was still extremely raw back then. He is slightly less right now, but of course he's still 19. Yeah, I basically don't really think that this is going to be that much of a hassle, given how Felix, has never done well at Indian Wells, and so far, and he's been winning, of course, but the performances, especially against Martinez, especially against Cerundolo as well, which for a straight set match was actually very, very close, and Fran didn't really take his chances. And yeah, Tommy Paul, of course, yesterday saving match points. And yeah, I just don't see him troubling Alcaraz whatsoever. Maybe I'll be wrong. I wanted to say hopefully, but I would actually love to see Carlos with the title here. And I think it's the most likely outcome. I see you underline the comment from Nurlan, which is actually very interesting. In your heart of hearts, who is the actual world number 1 overall right now? What do you think, Mario?
For me, yeah, I don't. I mean, the way she started the season, of course, she won the slam, and so Sabalenka is the player who started the season better than anyone else, in my opinion. But I still can't write off the number 1 from Iga Swiatek. For me, it's still here than the number 1. I can't just for a few losses already say that she's not here the strongest player on tour. So for me it's still a clear answer in my opinion. For me,
yeah, I think the question is pretty exciting, but I think everyone should say it's Swiatek. Like, if you're not saying it's Swiatek, like Krejcikova does not have a case. Let's be honest. I mean, she's won Ostrava, she's won Dubai, fine, but she does not have a case for world number 1 for sure. The WTA rankings, and of course the ATP rankings as well, are based on a 12-month ranking system. So in this case, like of course it's Swiatek. Personally, I think 12 months is a little much. Like, I would like to maybe see it have some increased value for more recent events or something like this. Of course, this has its downsides and upsides, but in general, I would still think it's Swiatek. Like, if we're just saying who's been the best player in 2023, I would be willing to say Sabalenka. If we're talking about who's been the best player, like who is the best tennis player right now, no, Ghosty, it's not Magdalena. Magdalena is, yeah, I don't know if, I mean, in 2023, she has to be like in the top 15, but in general, we'll see. Maybe she follows up on the results, but yeah, it just has to be Swiatek, let's be honest.
Yeah, meanwhile, Rybakina took the tiebreak, 7 points to 4. So Rybakina has won the first set, and she's 1 set away from the semi-final, which will be another very good result after the Australian Open. So Rybakina is, of course, is showing herself as a very solid player so far in this 2023. yeah, we were talking about yeah, let's would take a look back at yesterday, because we have the first four names into the semifinals, two in the men's draw, um, and two in the women's draw. We talked a bit about um, no, I would. I don't know if you watched the match or not, or if you saw something, but I would have liked to ask you something about Coco Gauff,
Hmm.
because I was sure that Sabalenka would have begun the match as the favorite, and I think also clear favorite in my opinion. But still, I don't know, winning just four games. Also because I think that this court could have been quite good for air conditions, for air tennis, for Gauff's tennis. So I was like, okay, I don't think Sabalenka will lose this one because of all things combined. But mm, I don't know, a bagel. I was a bit surprised of the bagel, to be honest.
Yeah, I also think that if Goff is to win a big title of clay, it could be Indian Wells. Like it's a big chance for it for sure. We've spoken many times about how these conditions are somewhat similar to clay. Of course, they kind of make it tougher to to attack that vulnerable forehand. You've got the high bounce, you've got a lot of time. So yeah, in theory, this should be a very good for Coco, a very good court for Coco. But yeah, this is the reality that basically she's like a top eight player right now, but she gets eaten up by every single other top eight player. Which I don't know what to think about this. Anytime Goff loses a match like that, there's a lot of discussion on Twitter. I saw some comments yesterday, like for example, basically I don't really see the people I follow, at least my sort of Twitter bubble. I don't really see any comments that are negative towards her, other than like some pretty say let's say pretty sane, pretty sound constructive criticism. Let's say when people are just mentioning the flaws in her game, but no one is really like saying like anything very very hateful towards her. But I actually did see last night a couple of like defense tweets for Gauff, saying that why are you jumping at her, she's only 19, 19 or 18. Has she
Nine.
finished 19?
No,
She has.
I think
She has 3 days ago. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
turned 19 some days ago. Yeah,
Yeah, 3 days
days
ago.
ago.
That's why I was confused. But yeah, basically that she's 19, and why are you just jumping at her? She's getting such insane results for her age. I don't think that these like negative constructive criticism comments should be taken this way. I think they should be taken like, yeah, she is so good that we're actually like looking for a way for her to be even better, because we see that it is possible, but there are certain things stopping it. And yeah, for the time being, I did not think Goff was gonna trouble Sabalenka. I don't think I've seen a much of this. Well, don't think I've seen like a large percentage of this match. I heard that the second set was pretty awful. But yeah, for the time being, of course, Goff generally struggles very much against like peaking opposition and the very best players. And yeah, this was just another one of these circumstances. I mean, she did decently well, I guess, against Swiatek in Dubai, but that was also like well, Swiatek was also not
Yeah, but still,
at her best.
there hasn't been the real question. She did decently because we knew how the previous matches went, but there hasn't been a real question, in my opinion, even in that match. Not in my opinion. There was not a question about the winner of that match. And
Mm.
I'm putting on because we received this one, but I think that we have already answered.
Mm.
But I,
For Sabalenka,
for
I'm not sure if we
Sabalenka,
answered. I'm not sure if we answered that. Yeah. I mean, should be Swiatek, right? With Rybakina, it's
Yeah,
at
I
least
think
at least
yes.
pretty close. Probably better for her than at the Australian Open. Like comparing the conditions at the Australian Open and here, I would say that in the Sabalenka Rybakina matchup, it's just much better for the Kazakh when it's faster. And
Yeah.
here she could probably struggle a bit more. And yeah, Swiatek is just a rough matchup for everyone on this court, probably. So even if we don't consider Sabalenka like without a chance, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Sabalenka would much rather play Rybakina again, unless it's like a I want to beat Iga or something like that. But she's just beaten her at the WTA finals, so I guess she kind of covered that already. We also have not spoken yet about the bottom half of the men's draw, where we have
Yeah.
the legendary Daniil Medvedev playing Francis Tiafoe. Sort of, what's your comment, Mario, about what Medvedev has been doing in this event, tennis wise, and also like behavior wise, let's say.
Okay. I don't like to criticize for things that are said on the court, because of course then we hear in the press conference that he knows really well that the Indian Wells court, it is what it is, and for some players it's good for their game, and for other players it's not. And I think it's normal because yeah, it depends on the tournament. In some tournament but also taking example of just the big three, which have been three aliens, but in a tournament one of them were better than the other two, and yeah, because it depends on the speed of the court and on the conditions, the balls, and sometimes it changes if you play during the day or during the night. So yeah, I also think that these meltdowns he has are not that uh, don't affect his tennis like for other players it's. I think that he also needs sometimes to find an external enemy to gain energies and to try to fight back when his tennis is not at his best. Um, of course, he's not playing like he did in Dubai, when the court was, I think, literally perfect for him, and he was also at the very top of his confidence. But it's still good enough to win matches like, for example, the quarterfinals against Davidovich Fokina, who was playing very nice, I have to say. I saw an improved Medvedev tennis wise than it was against Zverev, even if towards the end of the match he did some good things. But I think overall he played a bad match that day. But yesterday I saw him even in conditions that were for me even more difficult because of the wind. But I saw him more focused on only on what he had to do. Um, I have to say that Tiafo plays incredibly well on this court. I still think Medvedev is the favorite in the match, even if we know his struggle and all these things about the court, and we of course always talk about that. But I think that um, Rafa we will have his chances if he plays a very, very solid match. If he's only 80-85%, I think that Medvedev, even struggling, can have some games, some stretch of like 12 or 15 minutes in which he can try to put to do some good stuff on the court.
Yeah, we've seen Medvedev a few times, complaining about courts and then just pulling it together. As Michael just said, he's very confident. He's on a winning streak. When it matters most, he believes in himself. He plays more aggressively. Although, of course, with his technique, it's kind of hard. How severe is the Medi ankle injury? He looked like agile. Yeah, I don't think it's really at all impacting him, right? I mean, against
No, he
Davidovich
said,
Fokina, it didn't seem like.
I'm answering because I heard these
Mhm.
words, and he said that he was yesterday he was hurting before the match when he was cold,
Mhm.
but then the ankle went fine, and of course he said that he wouldn't have kept playing against Zverev if the physio and his team wouldn't have said him that it was fine, keep playing. So the injury seems not severe at all, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't impacting his movement against Davidovich Fokina, who, by the way, had like serious chances of winning the second set. I mean, he had a number of breakpoints, but was just going full Davidovich Fokina mode on all of them. Which,
Yeah.
a bit of clownery, a bit of poor shot selection, which was, well, I guess everyone here is approaching the match with Medvedev in the sense that, okay, this guy is on a 2 billion match win streak, right? But he doesn't like the conditions. I mean, I can beat him. I am comfortable in them. At least, of course, Davidovich Fokina, Zverev, I guess maybe even Ivashka had the chance to sort of approach the match like this. I'm not I'm not sure if I think that Medvedev has, of course, been doing pretty fine. Yeah, his confidence is definitely showing at some points, and it's going to help him. I still don't think he's winning the event though. Like I think Carlos Alcaraz is just confidently a big favorite at this point. I think Medvedev has he can lose to DFO. Pretty much. I don't know if it's yeah, I certainly wouldn't say that it's a 50-50 match for me, just because of the fact that, like, we know that when the time comes, Medvedev will deliver. Tiafoe not so much, but in terms of like what they played so far in this event, I think Tiafoe has probably been the at least maybe the more like coherent in terms of his performances. He has been the more composed, more the stronger player throughout. Andy Roddick said something about Medvedev that I'm not sure I fully agree with, but it kind of makes sense. Like he said that basically we see Medvedev, throwing these tantrums and talking about the courts, but it isn't really impacting his play. Like he said, never, which to me isn't really true. We've seen Medvedev completely like give up in conditions he doesn't like. I'm thinking, I don't know,
No,
off the
yeah.
top of my
In fact,
head,
I wasn't
against
talking
Karatsev,
about
was
that.
it?
When I was talking about sorry, I will be back
Uh huh.
to the question later, but so if I put this on, the guys can't see us. No, when I said that it wasn't affecting him, I wasn't thinking about his mental process in the conditions. I was only thinking about the meltdown moment when he starts complaining and all these things. But of course, I feel like he's been affected by also probably a little bit of lack of belief that despite the conditions and all these things, he still could have done some pretty good things. For me, it's, for example, mind blowing that he hasn't already won a match in Rome. And I'm not talking about the title of the semi or the final. I'm talking about a single match. Given his qualities, of course, I think that when he is able to keep the conviction that he can be stronger than that factor, he actually starts becoming at least a little bit stronger than that factor. And probably there's the opponent and other things that can stop him, but he needs to first of all keep the mindset that he can be stronger than the conditions, and it hasn't always been like this in his career. Sometimes, yes. For example, I'm thinking about his 2019 clay season, or the 2021 Roland Garros he played, which he did some very good things. Of course, then he lost to Tsitsipas, but it's another kind of stuff, because it can happen, of course. Other times, yeah, you're right, absolutely. He hasn't approached the game like, okay, I don't suit the conditions, but I can be stronger than this factor.
Yeah, the matches I sort of had in my head was against Karatsev in Rome, which you sort of
Yeah,
hinted at,
of
and
course.
also Cilic at last year's Roland Garros. That was also another one where Medvedev was just just gave up. But just came
Mhm.
out. The opponent was playing well. The conditions weren't great for him, and he did not attempt to
Yeah,
even try anything else. He was just playing it as if the opponent was suddenly going to start missing, and of course he didn't. And yeah, there's been matches like this, so I don't think it's quite true. I think it is true in this event that that the meltdowns have not really affected his performance. It's rather the fact that he's struggling to hit through the ball when there's like nothing on it, when he has to do all the work himself and the ball sits up. That has been more relevant than him actually having meltdowns. Of course, it's a bit of a like chicken and egg situation, but yeah, I also think that by the time we reach the semis, your mindset is going to be completely different, because by
yeah,
now you're already just 2 matches away from the title. You can basically touch the trophy
yeah,
in a way. So
yeah. So I think that your only
yeah,
thought is that.
yeah,
Of
he's
course,
way
I
more
think that
likely
right
to
now
just
conditions and all these things are become. I don't know. It's useless to think about that. I think
yeah.
your only thing is to try to lift the trophy.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
if he starts like another meltdown in the next 2 matches, it's probably gonna mean that he's like very behind on the scoreboard or something like that. Because
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
just think he's gonna enter the matches laser focused. Does that make him the favorite for the title? Still not for me. But of course, Alcaraz has to win 3 matches. He has to win two. So perhaps when it comes to like the probability, they'd actually be very close for me right now. But in general, I think that the Spaniard, if they play the final, I would still favor Alcaraz pretty heavily. Fritz, Sinner, I don't know. I mean, Medvedev has just beaten Sinner, of course, in Rotterdam, and even in that match, right? It seemed like Sinner was probably going to be the favorite. Like we thought that this was probably his chance, and well, he did not convert it, and I'm not sure I would trust Sinner to do it again, even in conditions that are probably better for him than Medvedev. Although, well, interestingly they've played 5 times, of course, with the Russian winning all 5, and all of them on indoor hard courts. So that would be quite a meeting. But of course, it would also be like the biggest match of Sinner's career, along with maybe the Alcaraz US Open quarterfinal and the final against Hurkacz in Miami. So there would be another factors at play. Yeah, in general, what I'm trying to say that probably if Medvedev reaches the final, like Alcaraz is the only guy I wouldn't be like I would be favoring over him in on Sunday. Fritz, I would kind of start, thinking about it. Maybe just see how he pulls through Sinner and then Carlos or Felix. But I'm not sure I would have Sinner. Yeah, I wouldn't have Sinner or Felix as favorites against Medvedev in the final. But again, not sure if Medvedev is even gonna get there. So maybe let's maybe see that, Mario. If you were to give me one name, who's winning the Indian Wells title on the men's side?
Mm. Well, at this point, let's say, I don't know. You, you're right with all this. The speech you said about Medvedev. Of course, now the level required is becomes higher and higher, and to win these 2 matches. And I don't know. Even if the way he went through his rounds, probably, I don't know, makes me think that in some way he's going to do this. I don't know, but I don't know why I'm starting to try to think like, who knows, maybe in how, I don't even know how, but he can lift this trophy. And I wouldn't have expected this before the tournament, I have to be fully honest. Because I was thinking about, of course, the conditions that he doesn't like, but I was also thinking that probably coming from three titles in 3 weeks, yeah, it's good in terms of confidence, but could have not so good in terms of approaching the matches in these kind of conditions, because he could have been like, why I was playing so well and now I play like, I can't deliver this level. I thought that it could have been affected mentally in a more negative way than it was. Um, but yeah, I still think that at this point, things becomes pretty even. Of course, if it's yeah, probably Alcaraz is the only one he will becomes the final as the underdog, given of course the conditions that favor Alcaraz more than him. But I think that against the other three, if he reaches the final, I think he starts with the favor as the favorite.
I guess Carlos would also regain the world number one position if he wins, but
Yeah,
of course not for that long unless he can also win Miami then. So it's going to be pretty tight, possibly if Carlos can win the next three matches, which yeah, at this point I would actually favor him to do, but it's going to be quite open still. Like Francis Tiafoe, for example, has a very serious chance of getting his first Masters 1000 title here, right? Like, we would not be surprised to see him beat Medvedev and see him beat Alcaraz or something, or Sinner, Fritz. It would still be a bit of a jump, of course, for the 25-year-old, I think, because Francis Tiafoe still has just one ATP title, which
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
kind of
It's
wild,
like
of
Maria
course.
Sakkari.
Yeah, he is like Sakkari. He's lost the last four finals, by the way, twice in Estoril, and of course one in Vienna and one in Tokyo. So yeah, it would be even the biggest final of his career. He hasn't earned an ATP title higher than the 250 category. So yeah, if Tiafoe reaches the final, there's certainly going to be some question marks in terms of his mental performance in that one. Whether the playing by far the biggest match of his career isn't going to get to him. Although maybe not by far, because I guess the Australian Open, the US Open semifinal was somewhat similar in that regard, at least. And we haven't. I mean, the question hasn't really been asked, I guess, on the women's side as well. Like, if
Yeah,
you were
you're
to
right.
give just one name, who would it be at this stage of the tournament? And by the way, Rybakina is close to securing the second set against. Sorry, Muhova is close to securing the
Yeah.
second set against Rybakina, so we might see a decider in this one, depending on where we finish. Maybe
Yeah, as I told at the
we'll
beginning of
get
the
to
live,
watch it.
I'm still stick with Iga Swiatek, to be honest, for this one. I don't know if then if you're going to ask me, will she do the Sunshine Double again? Probably I'm putting some dubs, but um, also because it's difficult to think so till the end of Miami, which is so far away still. But at this point, yeah, even if I know that Sabalenka is playing well and all these things, and she won the slam and she's more confident and she is all these things, but I'm still stick with Swiatek for this title. Um, yeah, but I think you said the same. On you. You wasn't.
No, no,
No,
I
I
was,
was
I
just
was.
saying that I think you said the same at the beginning of the
Yeah,
live.
yeah. Basically, I mean, it's a bit of the same case as with Medvedev Alcaraz. That, of course, Sabalenka only has two matches left, and Swiatek has three. So naturally, the percentages at the moment of speaking would be closer, at least in Sabalenka's favor, maybe even in Sabalenka's favor, really. But when I'm just, if I just have to say one name, I would still go Swiatek. But that's mostly because I don't think she can lose in the. I mean, can either of these really lose in the semis? I don't know. I mean, I see Sabalenka as a very clear favorite against Sakkari. I'm not sure if I like Rybakina's chances to beat Świątek here, even though I remember saying a few times when talking tennis that I think Rybakina and Garcia are probably like some of the toughest matchups for Świątek on tour. I'm not sure it really applies on this court. And the same would be if Świątek played Garcia today. So I would have to say Świątek because I think she's going to be the favorite against Sabalenka if they play in the final. Although, yeah, it would not be a crystal clear edge. It would certainly be something like, random percentage numbers are kind of fun, right? I mean, I can just say I don't know 65 or whatever,
Yeah.
but it would still be a pretty decent edge for the poll for me, mostly given the conditions, I think. But yeah, they're also good for Sabalenka, of course. It's just going to be a bit harder to overwhelm Świątek, which is something that she probably needs to do to win in this one. Something that she almost was able to do at the U.S. Open, and then eventually managed to do it in Fort Worth last year.
Mhm.
What else would you want to talk about? Would you like to talk about, Mario, from the Indian Wells tournament so far? Maybe there's been some standout match, some standout performer that has been eliminated already, but caught your attention. I'll check the comments if there was something that we should highlight or respond to.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the final set of the Pegula Kvitova match. I think that the first two sets were pretty average in terms of level, but then the third set was really good also because there was the excitement of the close score and that's very close tiebreak. So I think that one can be. Uh, can be thought about as one of the matches of the tournament. Um, I have to be honest that I got 7 out of 8 quarterfinalists except for Tommy Paul, which lost against Australia Sim, but I had him in the quarters. Um, I and that's a positive sign, I have to say, as regards Felix. I was positive to see how he's been um, precise with his chances and serving very well in important moments. So this is going to be one of the things that keeps me. If I have to say only one thing that can make him try to make a close one today could have been the ability, if he can bring the ability to serve well in the important point, like he did against Paul, but not in the previous rounds. So I'm, for example, very curious to see how Felix is going to serve, because I think that that shot has been the greatest difference so far in the matchup between him and Alcaraz. Um, yeah, of course there was one which wasn't very close, the Basel one, but I remember also the Davis Cup. That shot has made the difference in his favor in the previous matches they played. um, Even if I think that this head to head will be fixed at some point, because they still have to meet in kind of different places and conditions and tournaments. So I don't think it's a big factor. um, because I don't know, people sometimes uh, are very big on head to head. I see them also checking and seeing and saying, "Oh, he's love 3. He's 1-4. He's." To be
It's
honest,
the
I
funniest when they're like two love or one love, and they're like, oh, then this guy has to
yeah,
beat
yeah,
this
you're
one.
right.
I know, yeah.
And
The
maybe
these
it was
people have
played in
never played
Wimbledon
tennis.
and we are in Monte Carlo, to be honest. And yeah, I checked the head to head, and I think that it can tell us something. Mm, but usually I think that it's an overrated factor in starting the match.
I love how the chat is like now. I know some people are talking about cooking, some are talking about music. Vanessa Carlton covering Painted Black. Really? What the heck? There's, I mean, guys. By the way, Painted Black is good, but Gimme Shelter is the real Bob, obviously. But
I
Damian
had
and
a
Mario,
serious
is there a
question.
scale? Is there a scale of or a measurement system for describing chord speeds? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The CPI, chord pace index. There's also some fan-made stats, like for example, for events that smaller events that you don't really have CPI or something like that. I've seen stats that people did just based on ace rate. Of course, they're much less efficient, but they also can tell you something. But in general, yeah, there's the chord-based index.
Yeah.
It changes basically every year at the events. Sometimes they show it in the TV feeds, and yeah, it can be accessed there. Unlike you, Mario, I did not stay up for Kvitova Pegula, and I kinda regret it. I also wanted to talk about someone else earlier, Sean, I think it was, yeah, saying that the Miami courts are supposedly much faster this year, which has been a rumor going around. We talked about it with Nick on Monday or whatever, whenever that previous stream was. And yeah, I fully agree that if it turns out that indeed they're going to be as that much faster as some people have said, then probably they're it's going to be much harder for Swiatek to win that instead of Indian Wells. In general, I think we maybe could see some players who went deep in Indian Wells really struggling there, and in turn, some guys that really struggled in Indian Wells, even maybe I don't know, random example, but let's say Leandro Riedi, who took 2 games of Jack Draper, like the Miami courts, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I think if the gap is indeed going to be as huge as some people have hinted at, but of course we haven't really seen the courts at play yet, so we're probably not going to know until like the second day of qualifying or the first day of the main draw when we have enough sample size. And this is what I was also wanted to talk about with the head-to-heads. I also don't pay much attention to them. Sometimes they're relevant for sure when the matches have been very recent in similar conditions, but they're certainly like not to be taken at face value. In 99% cases, the sample size is just so small. Like if someone plays 2 matches against each other, it's really not enough. I mean, I
Yeah.
think most of the people who value head-to-head so much have never played tennis, and I don't want to make myself a Roger Federer. I'm absolutely awful, right? I mean, I'm a complete amateur. I'm not. I don't even know if I'm good for an amateur. Probably not. But well, if you've played some tennis, competitively in terms of just playing matches, let's say, no matter what the level, and you played the same opponent, I don't know, 3 4 times, you're gonna know that everyone has a better day, has a weaker day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're gonna execute the tactics better. Sometimes you're just gonna, I don't know, luck out and play some good points in the tiebreaker. Maybe a net court is going to help you. There's so many factors at play. In tennis, I don't really, as I said, I'm a complete amateur. I don't play other players, that frequently. But in my, I play the table tennis for the university, and there's like guys that I randomly beat free and love, and we meet next time, and they crush me. So yeah, it's we can start talking about like a relevant head to head if it's maybe if it happened like a month two ago, maybe a year ago, but or maybe in the case of like Federer and Nadal when they have a lot of meetings, right? Of course you don't have to have 50, but I don't know, 5 maybe or 10. That's when you actually have a lot of info from the head-to-head. But yeah, usually it's. And in this case, Alcaraz Auger-Aliassime, right? I mean, that's a very good illustration. 2021 in the case of such young players is a really, really big deal. And yeah, last year they played twice indoors, pretty fast courts too. I mean, Basel, and I can't remember how the Davis Cup, what was it, like Malaga probably played.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think this is really
Valencia was
any indication.
I think it was Valencia, the group stage, but yeah, it
Ah,
was in Spain.
yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's
but
like the head-to-head between them is any indication
yes, same
realistically
year.
for this one.
Same here. Yeah, the measurement thing is CPI. I don't know if you can try, or
I
maybe I
mean,
can post a comment.
yeah, usually on the internet there's like sorry, court pace index
Yeah,
was the full name.
yeah,
What? I hear Roger Federer's Polish is terrible. I yeah, I haven't heard him speaking Polish. I don't think he does. Tragically, I can't say the same re his English skills. Yeah, his English is really good. That's true. But of course, he's like a dual citizen of South Africa. His mother is South African, so I'm not gonna feel that bad about this. It's not really. Anyway, what were we going to talk about? Court pace index. Yeah, if you Google that on just random Google images, there's gonna be some old photos which give you like for the Masters 1000 events usually. Like for example, when I pulled it up right now, I have the court pace index for all the events between Indian Wells 2016 to Indian Wells 2017, all the Masters 1000 events, and in the ATP finals. Of course, this is 2016-17, so of course, again, don't really take it at face value. I mean, Miami has been moved to another venue even since. But this is also, we mentioned it, by the way, last time with Nick on Monday, that Madrid, even though it plays the fastest, it actually had the lowest speed index. And you can see that on the screen that I pulled up, which was the second thing that showed up for me in Google Images after I typed in court pace index. But it's not a big difference, of course. And we can see that Shanghai was like really, really fast in that year, at least. And Cincinnati is kind of low, which is surprising. And Paris has a very high score, which of course these days does not really happen. These days it's probably one of the slower ones. You can probably find it for Grand Slam events as well. I think it's also done for some ATP Tour events, but generally for the smaller ones, for challengers especially, you're gonna have to some people have done mathematical calculations in terms of the ace rate per the number of points and etc. But yeah, for the Masters 1000 events, you can probably find some court pace index data, maybe not for 2023, but at least for the years prior. But it seems pretty good. Like it definitely sounds like it. It has some relevance. But when you also have to think about the other factors like the weather conditions, the altitude in Madrid, which is a good example, and of course Indian Wells, the desert air, and etc. So the balls as well, which I think you mentioned like half an hour ago, that they can also really impact the conditions of play. So yeah, it's really weird. Apparently, according to some other stat that I'm seeing, the Paris Masters really sped up in 2016. I think right now it's slower. The same with ATP Tour Finals, but apparently, I mean, back then it was still called ATP World Tour Finals. Yeah, there is some data like that. It's pretty limited, but you're gonna be able to find it. Oh, here, for example, I have the speed index comparison of the slams, and the Australian Open was much faster that year than Wimbledon. Then Wimbledon was very close to the US Open, and of course Roland Garros at the very bottom. But I'm not actually sure. Okay, that was 2021 data, so pretty relevant. And I don't think these slams have really changed much in terms of their surface since. But we also talked about this a few times, that well, they're basically free slams are medium fast at least right now, and yeah, the data, the court pace index also tells us that. Yeah, that suddenly there's a discussion about Roger
Yeah, the
Federer
usual
speaking
things about
languages. I wonder if
Wimbledon.
he speaks Romansh, because of course, it's the fourth official language of Switzerland. I don't think so, but who knows? Indeed. Is there anything else that we should talk about? I think we're slowly coming to an end. There's a very good discussion in the comments, which would be, it would be a shame to stop it, but I wonder if we still have anything to. I wish Borg won US Open in 1980. Yeah, I mean, it would be great if Bjorn Borg had more than 2 slams, but I guess it also makes for a good story, right? I mean, the guy has 11 slams out of just 2 events. And there are also Roland Garros and Wimbledon, so like the very, very different conditions. Of course, in his day, the Australian Open was still played on grass, and the US Open was, I guess, he played it on clay, grass, and hard probably. I
Yeah.
think Jimmy Connors won it on all 3 surfaces. So yeah, it makes for a pretty good story that he only won 2, I guess, and he won 3 Channel Slams as well, which is pretty ridiculous. Of course, Nadal has done it twice, because both times when he won Wimbledon, he also won Roland Garros. Yeah, Maria. So, is there anything else that we should talk about? Maybe Indian Wells related.
I'm thinking. I don't know if someone in the comments want us to ask us something. We were talking about the favorites, and now, of course, we have only 12 players left in singles. So
Yeah, we're probably slowly gonna wrap things up in like the next minute, 2, 3, whatever, unless there's something that we suddenly feel like should be discussed. Rybakina has 2 breakpoints in the third set against Mukova, but it's still 1-1. So even if she takes them, it's still not game over.
yeah, it's still early.
We will have some opportunity to watch it. A story that I've also Rybakina has just broken. A story that I've also enjoyed was Isner and Sock playing the doubles here, and they've been like they played Arevalo and Roger in the opening round, and they were like huge favorites according to the bookies, which sounded weird to me. I know they won the event in 2022, but I mean they're coming against like a true elite doubles pairing, and it was a very close match, but they did beat them. And then also came through Kevin Krawiec and Fabrice Martin and Bolelli Fonini. And now they're in the semis playing against Bopanna Ebden, which actually kind of sounds, at least very doable. So there is a big chance that Isner and Sock are going to have a chance that they're going to have a chance, that they're going to have a shot to defend their title, but a potential final could be maybe even their toughest opponents if it's like Kolhov Skupski or Gaspol Heliovara. But it would be debatable with Arevalo Roger, I suppose. Oh, there's a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a matter of the venue, which of course Indian Wells has a big advantage compared to all the other Masters event, in my opinion. So I also think that there's not so much contest between Indian Wells and Miami, to be honest, in this regard. And then, of course, someone can prefer a slower court or a faster court, but it's not like it's more a matter, in my opinion, of the venue and the facilities and all these things, in which I think that I've never been there, but for what I know, I think that Indian Wells is the best one among the ATP events.
Yeah, the venue seems really excellent. That's true. I might not really like the courts, frankly, that much, but yeah, the facilities are definitely top notch. If there was a situation like that, Indian Wells is the front runner 100%, because what else would be, right? And it would probably like given the choice of surface, like would you get a second clay slam? Probably not, although maybe second grass slam, definitely not. Maybe a slam indoors, but the facilities for an indoor slam would be
Yeah,
very
it's
hard to
difficult.
obtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically you need like 15 courts or something like that. Or I guess it's it's indoors, so you would kind of be able to schedule it more, spread it throughout the day. So maybe like 12, 15 courts, something like that. But still, it's very hard to find. But yeah, what Sean is saying, that the U.S. Open and the Australian Open are very fast right now, and that there should be one slam on so hard court. So in a sense, I agree. This is what we talked about with Swiatek, sort of being in that spot where more Masters 1000 courts suit her than at the slams actually. But thank you, Ghost, to see you around. So it would kind of make sense to be like to have a slam on slower hard courts. Like if there is a bit of lack of balance, then it is in that way. But yeah, I just don't think a fifth slam is happening. But if it was, if that tradition was broken, which I think would be detrimental to the sport, frankly. But if that was broken, then Indian Wells is definitely the front runner. It's probably the best like venue on tour, right, compared to any other thing. So, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I agree.
And I guess that's it then. Ghosty went home, and then we also
Yeah.
decided to pack our bags. It just makes no sense without him. Michael says that he wishes Monica wasn't stabbed and Tracy Austin wasn't injured.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all
there's a lot of
it's
regrets.
always a matter of what if and what if. So yeah.
Maureen Connolly, I will keep mentioning Maureen Connolly, who in the 1950s won 9 slams by the age of 19, and then had a horse riding accident and she died. So, if it wasn't for that, maybe she was gonna be like the absolute. Or actually, no, I don't think she died. What I'm talking right now. I mean, she had a horse riding accident and couldn't play tennis anymore. But I think she died early, but a little bit later. But anyway, she was a 9-10 Grand Slam champion, won all four. Not in the same year as well, right? In 1950 something. And yeah, she by the age of 19 she had 9 slams. So maybe she would have been like the unchallenged greatest of all time, if not for that horse riding accident. Yeah, she died at 34, but of course the accident happened when she was like 20. And that's why I got confused. But yeah, I mentioned this every single time because I think it's yeah, won the first 1953. Was that the first women? Was that the first woman who won a calendar Grand Slam? I think so, right? Because it was Don Badge earlier for the males, of course. Anyway, Michael has a lot of historical knowledge, so thanks for sharing
Yeah.
it with us, Michael, today, and hopefully see you around on some other stream. As John said, Rybakina is a breakup, which I think we mentioned like a minute ago.
Yeah.
John, you haven't been listening carefully as as usual. Anyway, yeah, what else can we say? Let's get to watching Rybakina Muchova, the third set, and yeah, we'll see you on some other show. Ciao in Italian means goodbye.
Bye everyone. And bye Damian, of course.
Bye. Bye, Mario.